All right, welcome back. In this video, I hope to cover two things. One is sort of the garbage collection of those enemy shots and the player shots, just ensuring that they get collected. And we'll also look at creating the UFO. All right, so let's first look at what I did for collecting the enemy shots. And it's pretty straightforward. If we just sort of look into here in my boundaries, I've got we had the right and left boundaries before, and now I've also got the top and the bottom boundaries. And so those boundaries should prevent any of the items, okay, the shots basically, from going past them. And the script that I put on them, now I put different scripts I think, but in the end I probably could have done the same one. I'll just sort of show you here. Where are we here? So I've got a bottom boundary and I've got a top boundary. So I'll just open up one of these. And so all they are is, I'm just going to destroy whatever comes in contact with them. So I just made sure that it's on trigger enter. Let me just bring this over. And I've been sort of not worrying about tags here, just simply because nothing is going to get past that. I mean, it's only going to be the shots, but there's going to be no player or anything going in that area. So I've just hit that as destroy other game object. And so that's the script on it. And I think, like I said, that's the same script as I put on the top boundary, right? So I do have a top boundary script. I'll just open up that one as well. And you can see there, it's the same one. Okay, I didn't really need to make two scripts there. You could get by with one. When I originally thought about it, I thought, oh, maybe I'll have to do different tags, but we're just going to destroy anything there. Okay, so just have those to clean up any of the missed shots. Okay, and so that way we won't fill our game up with all these useless game objects. The other thing that I've worked on here is the UFO. So if I play this game now, it should run, and then periodically, come on game, it's taking sweet time. There we go. Periodically, a UFO should appear. There it is, and you can hit it like I did there. I don't have any points yet, but we've got the idea. Okay, so how did that work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. First off, I grabbed my UFO from my materials. Okay, so in here we have one. So if I bring this off, there is the one. Which one was the UFO here? Oh, it's down here. There's the UFO there. So I just dragged it in and made it into a sprite. Okay, and so with that sprite, in the end I created a prefab called the UFO. Okay, and I just made sure I had a box collider on it, and because it's moving, I put a rigid body 2D. Okay, and so just make sure your gravity scale is 0, otherwise I think everything can stay the same. And then I put a UFO move script on it, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so that's going to be your prefab. Actually, let's go look at that script right now. And then we'll deal with the instantiating in a minute. So our UFO move script is actually very similar to any sort of movement here. So let's just see. I've created a few variables, the UFO speed, so we can control that. I've got a vector, the position, UFO position. We'll talk about why that's there. And I've also brought in the explosion, so we get the explosion graphic to appear as well. Nothing in the start menu, or in the start function. In the update one, that's going to be our movement. And so our float is our X position. We're only changing our X position here. So we're taking the game object's X position, plus time, and multiplied it by the UFO speed. And I put a negative there so that it's going to go from right to left. Okay, so it's going across the screen in the left direction that way. So once we've got that, that's changing the X position. We have to actually change the UFO's X position. We create a vector 2 with the UFO position. So a new vector 2, the X position is changing. This Y position, I put it fixed there, okay, at 3.3, and I'll show you where that came from, but that's just sort of the instantiate Y coordinate. And then basically, we're going to take our game object, we're going to change its position based on this position, okay, and this is updating, so it's constantly changing as it moves across. This script is very similar to our, moving our player script. It's just doing it automatically by time.delta time and not dealing with the keyboard entry. Okay. Now, I've put in 2 on-trigger enters. One is to remove the game object when it hits the left side. So we don't want it, again, to continue on forever. So that just simply destroys it when it hits the left boundary. And then, just like we did with the enemy, because this is basically an enemy, I just copied that script. And so when it's hit by the player tag, or player shot one, tagged with the player shot, it will instantiate the explosion and then destroy it. Okay, and that's why we had to instantiate the explosion there, okay, up here with the game object. And it will simply put it at the position where it was shot, no rotation, and so it's going to destroy the game object and also destroy the shot. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, I think. This automatic movement here and our collisions. So in terms of our instantiation of this, so it's not in the game at the start, it's going to be instantiated. And so what I've got here, just close this up, I've got a UFO spawn. And so simply that's an empty game object, okay, and I put it right on the side here. And that's, yeah, actually the 3.62, 3.33, I might have to just change that number up. I can't remember if it moves down a little bit, but that number there on the y-axis should probably match up with on our script. All right, and so I've got a script on it, obviously, the UFO. And so let's go take a look at this. So I just called it UFO create. There it is. And it's a pretty straightforward one. Now, again, what I've done here is, what are we going to instantiate? Well, the game object, the UFO. And I basically used the same thing to instantiate our shots. And I just modified the names here to better describe it. So I have a next launch, and I have my launch rate min and my launch rate max. And so that gives me some control over the randomness of it. Now, here, we've seen this before. We've got our update function. Okay, so it's going to be running this all the time. And basically, I've looked at if time.time, okay, is greater than the next launch, it will instantiate it. And basically, once that's instantiated, right, then it's going to reset our next launch. So it's going to take the current time now and add something between the min and the max, okay? So there's some number in there that will allow us to, basically create a time, and it'll be either a little bit sooner or a little bit later. Obviously, if you increase these numbers here, you're going to add more time to the time.time. Therefore, the interval between the UFOs is going to be reduced, okay? And so just to see that again, and maybe I'll just change it to minimize, so I won't maximize on play. We can just see if there's a little bit of a problem with the instantiation there. Yeah, it drops down a little bit, and I can just change that very quickly because that was 3.62. I mean, I'm not beholden to that. That's not a fixed spot. I just sort of put it there so that I have room later on to put my score and my lives up there. So, but let's just make that look a little bit better. So I'm just going to go do my UFO move. And so this position here would be, I think it was 3.62. And then that way, I shouldn't have that little drop down. So I hit play again. And again, I'm just looking for the UFO instantiation. There it is. And now we just don't have that little drop there. Okay, and you can see it goes off the screen. It sort of goes, it disappears a little early maybe, but if I wanted to create another, another empty here collider just on the side, so that it made sure it got off the side, I could do that without too much problem. All right, so I think that's enough here. We're pretty well, we've got a good functioning game. There's a few little things that I'm gonna let you sort of work on, but when we come back, I think what I'm gonna do is get a score manager or a game manager working so that we can get a score going and we can get some lives going here as well. All right, so hopefully your Space Invaders game is looking pretty good here, and we'll do that. Might be the final video, or might have one more after that. All right, see you then.